Oh guys, I'm so excited. I've done all this preliminary testing to try to set my standard sort of variables, but today I get to test a new knife. I'm testing the ESEE 6 and I'm really excited. This knife has a real solid build feel to it. It felt really good sharpening it. It sharpened quite easily. I'm not sure if that says something about the heat treatment or not. I think if I was to guess, I would guess that the Ka-Bar Becker has sort of a medium heat treat. Their Rockwell is listed as 57 to 59. Now that's the same that Tops lists theirs at, but Tops has a differential heat treatment on it. So I'm not sure if on the Tops it means 57 on the spine to 59 on the cutting edge, or they don't know exactly. ESEE says that they heat treat theirs at about 57, so they're running a bit of a softer heat treatment on it, and we'll see what that does and how that translates. That'll increase the toughness, certainly, but it might drop the edge retention for chopping tasks. This is my guess. My guess is the ESEE is going to have probably the lowest performance in my test out of the 1095 blades, Ka-Bar in the middle, Tops on the top. I hope that the Tops does a full 2 days and is still popping the skin of the tomato. That'd be 7 hours of chopping. I know that's a tall order, but I am hoping that it could do it. This would be fun. If you have thoughts and you have predictions, then pause the video right now and put your predictions in the comments on this, and then watch the Combat Kitchen episode, the tomato test and the paper test afterward. And if you get it wrong or get it right, you can either gloat to all of us that you knew what you were talking about, or you can be like, I had no idea, ESEE is so good, or yeah, whatever. Anyway, that's more than enough talking, and I'm dying to plunge this blade through some serious brush. So let's get to work and let's see how this ESEE holds up to the abuse I'm about to put it through. Right, well, we've had to pause the testing because one of my fellow workers accidentally planted a machete in his knee, and so I'm here at the, Tauranga Hospital here in New Zealand to take care of my friend. I can't talk because I just ran up a really, really steep hill and I got like the phlegm thing going on. But anyway, I guess we'll have to resume and finish the testing next week. Hey guys, I'm going to try overlaying some footage with a bit of voiceover and just give some sort of real-time updates as we watch the footage of what I did and didn't like about the SE6. Now this is some of the first work that I did with it. You can see it's very fast, very light, but it's not going to remove a lot of wood at once. Also, this footage is from day one of work and I had my leather gloves on, and micarta is a wonderful material, but I would say the handle shape still very much matters. On my K-bar Becker, I'm not usually worried about the retention of it in my hand because the handle is flared so significantly. But you can see just there that the SE began to slip out of my hand and I would have to reset it to make sure that it didn't fall out. Now this wood that I'm chopping, I'm trimming some dead branches off of a tree called Manuka. My viewers in New Zealand will know it. And Manuka is a fairly hard wood, and I would say if you got big branches or hardwood, then this is probably not the knife for you. I'll show some footage of when I really got the knack of swinging it and some green wood later on, and that would be much more suited for this as like light camping tasks, and green wood is going to be much better than trimming hardwoods. Working this area of the valley that I work in was really satisfying because we got to clear all the way down to the riverfront, and just to see the beauty of the land with all of that stuff cleared was satisfying and reminds me why we spend the time to take out invasive species and promote New Zealand native trees. This is a plant called woolly nightshade. It's a bit softer, and you can see there the SE goes through it no problem, even with its limited weight. I actually try to split it there, and I just shear a piece right off. So if you're working with soft green stuff, the SE6 might be enough for you. Here I'm trimming some gorse sprouts, and I've got the speed of the strike, the center of gravity dialed in, and I've also got some nitrile covered gloves that grip a little bit better on that micarta. And this was the time of day that I really began feeling like, oh, I do like this knife. Like, this is a solid option if you're looking for a sort of medium-sized, somewhat lightweight, all-purpose survival knife. So that sort of wraps up the testing portion of the video. I'll say a few final words and hopefully not ramble on for too long. I do appreciate when I'm surfing on YouTube, I do appreciate a very concise video. I have been chopping and sweating all morning, and I just got done spreading a bunch of gravel on a road, and so I'm not super confident in my brain's capacity to be precise, but I will do my best for you guys. First thing I want to know is, did you like the style of this video? I think I can make videos that are cooler kind of stylistically and have my friend film me and add music to the background and stuff, and then talk about the products that I'm reviewing and testing. Or I can strap a GoPro to my head and shoot these sort of first-person shooter kind of perspective videos of actual use of the knife, not super glorified in any way. And as the video's playing, I can voice over some commentary about performance characteristics that I found in the knife. So if that's more satisfying to you, if you'd like to see more knives tested and more different kinds of steel tested, and you don't care that much about how fancy the video is, could you please tell me in the comments, I prefer this style. If you'd prefer to see a few less videos, but have them be maybe a bit more entertaining, you can also put that in the comments. I'm still sort of working out how to portray and document this testing that I'm doing. So, did I like the SE6? At first, I'll have to say I didn't like the SE6 very much, and it had to do a lot with leverage. The slabs on here are quite heavy, and the full tang construction is pretty invincible because this is built to be a survival knife. Like, you don't ever want it breaking inside here. Now contrast that to my K-bar Becker, which is stripped down for this video, and also because I'm in the process of shooting you a video showing you how to make wood handles. I've got some black walnut cut that's laminated with epoxy to some linen micarta that I'm going to stabilize with beeswax. So that's coming up. In the next month or two, I will have finished and posted a video on that. That's a bit of a teaser. But you'll notice that we've got a lot of material hollowed out here. Speed is important and weight is important with this knife. And so they have really put a lot of the weight in the forward side of the knife because it's a combat knife. And in function, when you're swinging it, if it's light out here and it's heavy out here, it means you extend your center of gravity further out, and if you extend your center of gravity further out, then you have more leverage in your chop. You can see the wear marks. Your center of chopping is right about there in this knife. In the ESEE, at first I found that the handle is so heavy and the blade is ground thinner, and so you've less weight up here and more weight back here, which shifts your center of gravity further back. Now when you've got a center of gravity about there, and that's your strongest chopping point, you don't have as much leverage. So you've got to rely a bit more on the speed of the chop. You'll also notice that although they're similar weights, because of the design, the Ka-Bar Becker has about an extra ½ inch of blade length on the ESEE, which also gives it a slight advantage. But I wanted to go for them because they're close to the same weight, and I wanted the edge test to be the same. I wanted the impact of the strike to be the same, if that makes sense. By the end of the day, I sort of got the knack of doing speedy, quick strikes, and I do like the ESEE 6. So have no fear, Andrew, who sent this to me. I do like your knife. I think there is something, this is going to sound dumb, but there is something nice about it in that it feels sort of like a gun, like the quality of the build and the characteristics of it is sort of no nonsense. You got like a block handle, kind of bare bones functionality. It feels, there's something kind of firearm-like about it. And I can understand, I see a lot of gun guys who like ESEEs, and I kind of understand why after using it. I also know that this knife isn't built specifically for chopping. It's built to be an all-purpose knife. It's built to be a survival knife. And so I think for what it is, I do like it. And I adjusted my technique, and we're working on cutting stuff that's small enough right now that it did work pretty admirably well by the end of the day. And I did end up liking it. I think what I'm hoping is that I can find a knife that has a bit of a thinner grind, and that with speed and edge retention and a thinner grind, I can actually get a knife that cuts just as efficiently, but I have less carry weight. That's sort of my goal. And if you think about grind slope, which if you don't know what that is, check out my video here where I explain that. If you measure the grind slope on these first 3 knives that I'm testing, you've got the Ka-Bar Becker and the Top Silent Hero. Both of these, this is what I'm going to test next week. Both of these, they're the same thickness. They're about 4.5 millimeters or 0.18 inches thick. And they both have a grind that is about 29 millimeters tall. If you divide that out, it's somewhere in the realm of just over 12.5 for the grind slope. And that is a measurement of how thin. A higher number indicates a thinner grind on the knife. Now the ESEE has a significantly higher grind height. If you see where the grind ends there, and then you see that this is flat ground all the way up, the grind slope on this ESEE is somewhere around the 16 mark, and I was hoping that that would improve penetration when you're chopping with it. I didn't find that it did significantly, but I'm excited because next week we're going to take this thing into the kitchen, and I think for the pumpkin test, it's going to really do well. I'm actually, my biggest excitement with this knife is to try to do kitchen stuff with it and see if it performs well in the kitchen. That's what I'm excited about. I think this technical kind of sheath that Andrew's got is really cool. Highlander, I think is the brand. Cryptek Highlander. I like Kydex. I think it's really cool. I don't find that functionally it's a lot better than the standard nylon with a plastic insert sheath on my Ka-Bar, but it does feel nicer. I like how the retention on it is, of course, amazing. Like, it's never gonna come out of there. There's a couple of things that the tech lock is quite cool, but I would agree with Pete from Cedric and Ada that you end up with a knife that's kind of digging into your ribs because they're often mounted under the swell, which means the knife is riding pretty high. I thought that would be really annoying. Over the course of the day, it was like a slight annoyance. Every now and then I'd move funny and it'd poke my rib a little bit, but it wasn't incapacitating. I like how quick it is to get the knife in and out of the sheath. I like how quick it is to pop it into a position with really good retention. It was a little scary because when you're putting the tip in, there's a lot of kydex you can catch and sort of scratch it up. And since this knife doesn't belong to me, I did sweat that a little bit. I was a little bit worried about that. But overall, I thought the sheath was very cool. I wouldn't probably pay a bunch of money to upgrade my sheath because I'm so into bare bones functionality, but I did think it was a cool feature. Last of all, we'll talk about the edge. To be honest, the edge still looks quite good. I'm inspecting it here. I can see a little bit of damage when I hold it just right in the light, but it doesn't look significantly more than my Becker did after 3.5 hours of chopping. So we'll test it out next week with the tomato test and the paper test after we do all of our kitchen stuff. But I would say so far from what I can observe and how it was still cutting through like flax leaves and stuff like that at the end of the day, which are quite hard to catch in and slice through, I would say that I don't anticipate the heat treatment on this 1095 to be as significantly worse as I expected it might be, which is pretty cool. I think that's all the feedback that I have other than what I put in the video itself, so I'll not take up any more of your time. I hope you found this interesting. Please leave me comments if there's any ways you'd like to see the videos change or evolve, and for now, we'll just say peace out from the Home Slice.